All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kabbalah Cafe. This is our way to get the week started with some, what I like to call PK. What is PK, you ask? Not a penalty kick. This is not soccer. You know what PK is? PK is power Kabbalah. Power Kabbalah. This is a mystical way or a way to get the week started with a jolt of Jewish mystical thought and Hasidic philosophy. So the course that we're starting, the new series that we're starting today is called Garments of the Soul. Now, I would imagine that most of us have a recognition that garments are for the body and a soul doesn't need garments, which makes this title, hey Norm, a little bit strange. What are these garments of the soul that we are speaking of? But as we'll see, garments of the soul play a very important role, and indeed they are. Hold on, Norm. Let's get hook them up with the chair. No, we got a chair over here. We're gonna pull in. Thank you very much, Norm. We got the best seat in the house for you. Because this is my good side. The reason I say it because this is my good side.
But now I'm taking up other people's.
Nah, you're good, Norm. You're good.
Back in an hour. I gotta get the coffee.
We'll see you soon. So the question is, what are these garments of the soul that this title speaks of? Before we get into that, before we address that question, we need to address the overall theme of the series. And the overall theme of the series is the notion of personal change and the capacity that we have for personal change. In other words, very simple question. How much change can a human being expect to achieve in their own life? Each one of us has a personality. Each one of us has character traits, for better or for worse. And the simple question is, how much can we really change? We all aspire, I can't say we all, many of us aspire to personal change. We aspire to better ourselves. We make New Year's resolutions, whether that's January 1st or Tishrei 1st, i.e. Rosh Hashanah, or on our birthday or on another special occasion. We aspire, I think many of us, most of us aspire to grow, to change, to improve ourselves. And the question is there a ceiling? Is there a cap on that change? Or is there a possibility to achieve what I would call radical change, radical transformation? Or that's on the one hand, or are we kind of stuck the way we are, whether it's nature, nurture, the product of our environments, whatever it is, are we perhaps stuck in that space? That is really at the core of this series, of this text that we're going to study together over the next several weeks. It's about the limits or the non-limits of personal change. And to understand that, to figure that out, the first step is to really understand what's going on under the hood of the human psyche. What is our personality like? What is our soul potential like? Once we understand those things, then we can address the questions that I asked before. Now, before we get into all of this, before we get into the text, and by the way, everyone will receive a little booklet that has the text that we'll be studying. You can leave it in between sessions. You can take it in between sessions. Whatever it is up to you. Be that as it may, this is the booklet that we will be studying together. But today we're going to be studying a handout that is a bit of an introduction to what we'll be studying. But before we get into that, I'm going to give you another introduction. About 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, a former football player died. His name, football player, actor, thank you, Jim Brown. Anybody familiar with Jim Brown? Yes? Huh? Jim Brown, huh? He's like
born in St. Simons, Georgia.
Oh, nice. All right. Play for Cleveland Browns. So Jim Brown has an interesting legacy. Why do I say he has an interesting legacy? Because on the one hand, as a football player, he's a legend, right? One of the most prolific running backs, right? Ever to have graced the football field. I grew up in the era of Walter Payton. A little later, Barry Sanders.
Those are little guys, fast guys.
Yeah. Jim Brown was just, right, like a truck. He was a bruiser. At the same time, he has a little bit of a complicated legacy. Because, and I'm not, the point today is not to drudge up negativity, but the reality is that there were various allegations, charges, etc., about him in his domestic life that raises a lot of questions about his hero status, or his should he be in that hero status? Raises some valid questions. So the reason why I mentioned Jim Brown is for a very simple purpose, and that is to say that it's very hard to define people as either good or bad, because usually the truth lies somewhere in the middle. When I say in the middle, truth is complicated. Truth is complicated. The truth of human beings is complicated. People have tremendous virtues and they have tremendous vices. Some people do tremendous good and at the same time do tremendous negativity, tremendous bad. Life is complicated and people are complicated, and people oftentimes live dual lives. Why? Because human beings are human beings. That's the nature of things. And by the way, I'm not giving a pass to negative behavior and saying, well, they're only human. That's not my intention. My intention is to point out simply that the same person could do some good things and can do some negative things. And even with it's not just football versus morality, football versus, an ethical life. What I mean is, even within the realm of ethical behavior, a person can be ethical and unethical and contain both of these dynamics. What was that dual, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, right? That was the same guy? Yeah? Who would have thought? The same guy could be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? The answer is
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. What movie was that?
Some movie where it turned into.
Right. Liar, liar. There you go. Yeah, little Jim Carrey retro. Or right, exactly. So what's the point of all this? The point is that human beings are complicated. And when we believe that people are either good or bad, it's just, first of all, it's not a true assessment, it's not a true perspective. And we miss out on a lot of important nuance, whether one way or the other way. In other words, if we see somebody, doing something that we don't think is good, there's a tendency today, maybe it's always been this tendency, to throw out their entire body of work. There's a name for this in modern culture, right? What do we call it? Cancel. They've been canceled. What does cancel mean? Cancel means a person does something wrong, legitimately wrong. But because of that, the entire body, the entire spectrum of whatever they've done is out. No nuance. And conversely, if someone does something good, there's been a tendency to whitewash all the negativity and to say, you know what? They didn't do anything wrong because they're my hero. Both perspectives, both either or. It's not either perfect or negative. Most people lie somewhere in the middle. Excellent. Yeah, Beinoni. So today we're going to speak about three personas based on the Talmud, which is the primary work of Jewish law, as well as based on the teachings of Jewish mystical thought. I'm going to pass these around. Please take a copy. I'll put this up on the screen as well. We have a lot to talk about, so let's start getting to this. Take and take a pass. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. Does everybody have a copy, or it's still coming around? Still coming around the bend. All right, we begin with a quote from the Talmud. And this is the Talmud Tractate Berachot. Talmud Tractate Berachot 61b. By the way, just as a point of clarification, I will modify the translation to drop. This translation I got from Sefaria, which is a great resource. But, I just copied and pasted. There's a little bit of a modification that I'll make. I'm going to begin by reading this. Rabbi Yosef HaGalili says, he describes three kinds of people. The good inclination, Yetzer Tov, rules the righteous. As it is stated, and my heart is dead within me, Psalms 109:22, which means, i.e., the evil inclination has been completely banished from his heart. Now, let me just pause here for a moment. So, Rabbi Yosef HaGalili is going to describe three types of people. The tzaddik, the righteous person, the rasha, the not so righteous person, the evil person, and number three, the Beinani. Beinani means the one in the middle, the intermediate guy or person, or the average person. Okay, so he first talks about the tzaddik. He says that tzaddik is ruled by his or her Yetzer Tov, good inclination, and the quote that he uses, that he cites from Psalms, is where King David says, "V'libi chalal b'kirbi." My heart is dead. Chalal means chalal is a corpse. It's also void. Chalal is a hole, is empty, but it also means a corpse. He says, my heart is dead within me. What was he saying? He was unfeeling. He couldn't love anymore after heartbreak. What was he saying? My heart's dead within me. He was saying that my negative inclination, right, is dead within me. I no longer have an evil inclination. Okay, so that's one category of person. Next, the evil inclination rules the wicked. The rasha, the wicked person, is ruled by their evil inclination. As it is stated, transgression speaks to the wicked. There is no fear of God before his eyes. Okay. That's category number two. So tzaddik is one, rasha is two, Beinani, and it's important that we learn these terms, tzaddik, righteous, rasha, not so righteous, i.e. evil, and Beinani means someone in between. And here, I don't like this translation. Middling people, middling almost sounds to me like meddling, like meddling people. No, it's not middling people. He means in the middle, right? The in-betweener. Middling people are ruled by both the good and evil inclinations, as it is stated, because he, God, stands at the right hand of the needy to save him from them that rule his soul. So this is referring to someone to whom God assists to protect them from the negative inclination that lies inside, which means that this person is struggling between their good and evil inclinations. So, in summary, before we continue, there are three categories. Tzaddik means no evil inclination, dead. The evil inclination part is dead, only positivity inside. That's category one. Category two, on the other extreme, is the rasha, the wicked person. The wicked person has only an evil inclination. And in the middle is the Beinani. The Beinani has both the good and evil inclinations that are ruling. It says middling people are ruled by both the good and evil inclinations. And we had a verse. Yes. My heart is a reference to the evil inclination.
In the heart is purity and good.
The heart could be good. Yes. Excellent. Good question. The heart is a euphemism, often, not always, not exclusively, but often, or sometimes at least, to the negative or the, what's the word I'm looking for? The primal.
Lust versus love,
It's more lustful.
Is it emotion?
But it's not just because emotion would be neutral, but it's right. It's got a negative. It's a lustful, reactive, vindictive. That's not always, the heart is not evil. The heart in and of itself, but in this context, when King David says, my heart is dead within me, and according to the sages, it means that after his incident with Bathsheba, which we're not going to go over right now, but after that, he fasted and fasted and fasted to the point where he worked on himself and got rid of that evil inclination. as the Talmud says, he hargo b'tainit, he killed, he slew it, slayed it. What's the past participle, huh? Slew. He slew, slayed, sly, slither, slithereens. Anyway, he killed. He decimated. He got rid of his evil inclination.
You don't kill it, it's never permanent.
Well, so interesting. So in Tanya, okay, so we're going to get into this. Is it ever gone, or is it in such a deep slumber that it's not going to awaken on its own? Good. There's different levels of tzaddik. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Thank you for so getting back to the question. So why heart? So sometimes the heart is a reference to the reactive, to the negative, protective part of self, whereas the head is the mind is synonymous with the more mindful and rational part of self. So, for example, if somebody says something that is that might be offensive, and you get very upset, and you want to say something back you want to reply with something very negative and hurtful because you feel hurt, you want to hurt the other person, that's coming from the heart. Whereas the mind would say, slow down, maybe they've had a very bad day, maybe they didn't mean it that way, maybe you're just reacting in a way, slow it down. The mind would be a little bit more mindful about it, be able to slow it down. So the heart is very much associated with often with like a primal reaction, which is not always our best self. That doesn't mean that the heart can't be pure. It doesn't mean that the heart is bad. In this context, that is the reference, but it's not a wholesale definition. Yeah. Yes. But in this case, when he says my heart is dead within me, it means the negative realm of emotions that are stemming from the evil inclination. By the way, all of this, we're going to get much deeper in. This is only by way of intro from the Talmud. Now let's continue. So we have now three categories: the good, the evil, the good, the bad, the ugly. No, the good, the evil, and the middle. Let's continue. Rabbi said. Now, who's Rabbi? Rabbi was one of the great sages of the Talmudic era. Rabbi, the son of Nachmani. Rabbi said, people like us are middling. Kegoin anna beinani is the original phrase. Kegoin anna beinani. Like us and like me. I'm an example of a beinani, of a middle person. Abaya, his student and nephew, said to him, if the master claims that he is merely middling, he doesn't leave room for any creature to live. If a person like you is middling, what are the rest of us? If you're only the average, if you're a tzaddik, we could be average. If you're average, we're in trouble. That's what he says. That's how it ends. Check, please. Okay. Now, who was Rabbi? We just spoke about Rabbi. Rabbi claims self-proclaimed Beinani. Kegoin anna Beinani. Like us, like me, I'm a Beinani. Okay. That's what Rabbi says. But who was Rabbi? Just so you know who Rabbi is, let's take a look at the next section called Non-Stop Study. It's a new album I'm putting out. I'm kidding. Non-Stop Study. I struggled a lot with this as to how much of this Talmudic, this is from a different section in Talmud, from Bava Metzia 86a. I struggle with this to figure out how much I should cite. I really wanted to quote like a few pages worth of stuff, and it was very hard for me. Just so you know, it was very hard to limit it to what I shared with you here in this excerpt. But here's what I skipped. I'm going to say very brief. Rabbi got in trouble with the government. What happened? There were basically individuals in the government that were a little anti-Semitic, a little anti-Rabbi. They didn't like him. They wanted to get rid of him. This was in Babylonia, in Bavel, back in the day. This is going back, 1,700 years or so? So there was someone in the government, or maybe more than one person in the government, that had some beef with Rabbi, wanted to get rid of him. And so they put in a complaint to, I don't know, the king, the governor, the minister, whoever it was, that Rabbi was causing problems in the kingdom, in the country. What was the problem? That he was gathering people to study Torah, and because of that, they weren't working, and because of that, they weren't paying taxes. Right? Right? So the Jews weren't paying taxes, or as much as they could have, if they worked. And whose fault was it? Rabbi Bar Nachmani. He was the guy. He was the guy at the source of all the problems. Fine. So here's what happens. He's running for his life. This guy is running for his life. He's hiding. They're trying to catch him. He's ducking. It's very complicated. Take a look. Take a look at this. In midst of his running away from these people that are trying to capture him, arrest him, and get rid of him, something else interesting happens. What happens? Okay, somewhere in the middle of the story, the Talmud interjects with this. The sages in the heavenly academy. Heavenly academy means like up in heaven. They're studying Torah, I guess, and there's a disagreement in the heavenly academy. They were disagreeing with regard to the laws of tzarat, leprosy. And here's a bit of a general note. In general, a leprous spot, it's not really leprosy. It's like a biblical leprosy, which is a spiritual malady. Anyway, in general, a leprous spot includes two signs of impurity, which is a bright white spot and a white hair. So in other words, the skin discoloration includes a white spot and white hair. If it has a white spot and white hair in it, then it is a leprous spot. Let's continue. If the snow white leprous sore, the baheret, preceded the white hair, then the afflicted person is ritually impure. So in other words, if the skin first discolors and then a white hair comes out of the skin, then, as what's his name used to say, you just might be a Mitzorah. Who was that? Who's the comedian who said that? You just might be a redneck. No, who was the guy who said that? Jeff Foxworthy, right? You just might be a Mitzorah. If you have, right, if the skin turns white first and then the white hair, okay. However, if the white hair preceded the Baheret, he is pure. Okay, so if first you have the white hair and then you have the discoloration, that's not Sarat. What's the debate? What was the debate in heaven? The heavenly debate concerned the case of uncertainty as to which came first, the spot or the hair. What if somebody discovers one day they have a white spot and white hair, and they don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg or the white hair or the spot? Now you don't know. So is it pure or is it impure? So here we have a dispute. Classic case of machloket, but I bet you never saw this before. The Holy One, blessed be he, says, you know who that is, right? Okay, the individual is pure, but every other member of the heavenly academy says he is impure. First of all, you would think if God is in the academy, who has a vote? Who else is voting? Why are there other votes? How does this make sense? It's a wild story, and we're just getting started with this story. So God says pure. If you don't know, you err on the side of leniency, pure. Every other member of the heavenly academy says, Tameh, impure. He's got Sarat. So now what? Now it's a stalemate. You can't really vote by majority because it's God on the other side. So God is worth probably more than one vote, but it's not unanimous either. So what do? God is well done. It's like the guru that goes to the hot dog stand, right? Make me one with everything. Then he pays with a 20, and the guy pockets it. And the guru says to the guy, "Where's my change?" And he says to him, "Change comes from within." All right, back to the story. So this was the machloket. Pure or impure, God says pure. The other members say impure. And they said, who can arbitrate in this dispute? Now, who's going to arbitrate? They agreed that Rabbi Bar Nachmani should arbitrate. As Rabbi Bar Nachmani once said, I am preeminent in the laws of leprosy. Okay, so he was self-proclaimed an expert in these laws. And so in the academy in heaven, they said, okay, we need someone else to be machriya, to arbitrate. And who they call? Who were they wanting? Rabbi Bar Nachmani. Now, one second, before you turn the page, if there's a dispute in heaven in matters of law, and somebody on earth can arbitrate, how do you get them to arbitrate? What do you think?
You bring them up.
And how does that happen? Yeah. Let's continue the story. Yeah, it's taking a morbid twist here, folks. Huh?
Something with it.
I know there was some. Yeah. Okay, so next page. Here you go. They sent a messenger from heaven after him. This messenger was not bringing candies. This was a messenger to take his soul up to the heavenly academy. But the angel of death, that was the messenger. The angel of death was unable to approach him, as his mouth did not cease from his Torah study. Now, there's a general rule. The angel of death cannot touch someone who's studying Torah. That's the rule. That's the rule. It's good to know, right? It's good to know. By the way, apparently it counts if you're listening to a podcast and have your earbuds in. I'm kidding. I don't know if it does, but maybe it does. Maybe just keep something on a loop. Anyway, this is the Anti-Death Podcast, sponsored by the Torah Center. Sorry. Yeah, right. It's like, sorry, angel death, take a number because I'm studying now. Okay, so the angel wasn't able to approach him as his mouth did not cease from his Torah study. In the meantime, a wind blew and howled between the branches. Rabbi Bar Nachmani thought that the noise was due to an infantry battalion, Gunda, I guess that's an Aramaic word for it, about to capture him. Why were they about to capture him? Remember I told you he was on the run from the government? So he hears this noise outside, and the noise sounds like it might be a battalion coming after him. Next thing you know, he interrupts. He said, let that man, referring to himself, me, die and not be given over to the hands of the government. So he interrupts his study and he says, I'm going to go down fighting. I'm not going to go into the hands of the government. In the meantime, he's not studying Torah, and the angel of death was therefore able to take his soul. This is the story about how Rabbi Bar Nachmani, how he passed away. As he was dying, listen to this. As he was dying, he said in response to the dispute in heaven, it is pure, it is pure. Tahar, tahar. Who did he side with? God. Not a bad. We were talking about getting good favor in the eyes of the teacher, right? He's about to go up. God, you're always right. Absolutely. Torah study. Torah study, yeah.
From prayer to studying prayer. It was a prayer that when he got killed. He was praying.
No. He said no. He said that he should die. Let that man me die and not be given over to the hands of the government. He wasn't thinking about Torah study at that point. He was thinking about his own mortality and his capture by the government. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I think so. So as he was dying, again, he said in response to the dispute in heaven, it is pure, it is pure. A divine voice emerged from heaven and said, happy are you, Rabbi Bar Nachmani, as your body is pure and your soul left with the word pure. He died with the words pure, pure, pure on his mouth, on his lips.
God rules all the time. What's the purpose of the academy unless they can change God's mind? Why is it an academy?
So good. It seems like, notwithstanding God's pull, seems like things are subject to a vote. We also know that there are stories in the Talmud where God is overruled by the sages. There's a famous story, the Achnai oven. There's a dispute about a certain oven, whether it has a status of pure or impure. And all the rabbis said pure. One rabbi said impure. And the rabbi that said impure was a single voice. He was the most brilliant sage of the time, Rabbi Eliezer. And he said, if I'm right, let the tree prove it. And a carob tree jumped, moved, then a stream moved backwards, and the walls of the academy started caving in. He basically performed all these miracles to try to prove that he was right. And the rabbis didn't relent. And then a voice rang out from heaven and said, why do you argue with Rabbi Eliezer? He's always right. And Rabbi Yeshua turns, one of his colleagues turns to heaven and says, we don't listen to voices from heaven. Torah is lo b'shamayim. Torah is not in heaven. Torah is down here. So we go with the consensus down here. And it says later on, it says that what was God doing at the time? God was smiling and saying, "Nitzchuni b'ni nitzchuni," my children have bested me. My children have bested me. So it seems like God doesn't mind to be outvoted. But they called Rabbi Bar Nachmani, and he agreed with God. So that was, I guess, the psak, the ruling. Be that as right. Right. It's given, once Torah is given to us, then it's, but it seems like there are debates in the Heavenly Academy, and I guess there's some consultation that happens. The point of all of this, the reason why I brought this, is so that we get a bit of an insight into the character and the piety of Rabbi Bar Nachmani. He was a guy who gathered people to study Torah. He was a guy who did so in defiance, or I don't know if it's in defiance of the government, but even though it got him in trouble. And this is somebody who even the angel of death could not get him because he was studying Torah consistently. You with me on this? And what did he say about himself? Rabbi Bar Nachmani is the same Rabbi that we quoted before. And what did Rabbi say about himself? He's a Beinoni. You kidding me? Rabbi, the guy that the angel of death couldn't take? Rabbi's a Beinoni? What about us? We're toast. Right? We have no chance anymore. If Rabbi's a Beinoni, the guy that studies Torah day and night, that the angel of death can't touch him until he can, right? That he's a Beinoni, he's average. Wow. So clearly we need another definition of what a Beinoni is. What is this average person? What does that even mean? Who is the Rasha? Who's the Tzaddik? Who's the Rasha? Who's the Beinoni? And so what I'd like to do right now is share with you the definition or the understanding of these definitions as described in the book of Tanya, which is the Bible of Chabad Hasidic thought. So it says in Tanya the following. These three terms mean a little bit more than what we think they mean. What three terms? Tzaddik, righteous; Rasha, not righteous; and Beinoni, average. What do they mean? A tzaddik, and this is important for us to know because it helps us kind of figure out where things lie within ourselves. A tzaddik is someone who not only does the right thing, but only wants to do the right thing. This is somebody who every desire is positivity and goodness. The Rasha, conversely, on the other extreme, is somebody who not only does negative things, but they want to do negative things. They want to do the negative, and they do the negative. Who is the Beinoni? The Beinoni is a psychological Rasha, but a behavioral tzaddik. The Beinoni is a psychological Rasha and behavioral tzaddik, which means psychologically on the inside, the Beinoni has all the vices, temptations, etc., as the Rasha. But unlike the Rasha, he or she, the Beinoni, acts in a way that is righteous and virtuous, not succumbing to those temptations on the inside. Which means on the inside, the Beinoni is as flawed and as confused and as conflicted as the Rasha. But unlike the Rasha, on the outside, when I say outside, in the world of action, the Beinoni is engaging in the same behavior as the tzaddik. So I'll give you an example. Somebody says to you, I'm moving houses, and can you help me schlep boxes? I'm going to use this example as being one of virtue, which that itself can be argued, but we're just going to use that type of understanding. So someone asks you, can you help me move, schlep boxes? The tzaddik, again, assuming this was a moral thing, which is not necessarily a moral thing, right? It could just be a back issue, but assuming that it's a moral question, the tzaddik would want to help and say, yes, I'll be there for you. The Rasha, good morning. The Rasha The Russia's perspective is, thank you. The Russia's perspective is, I don't want to help. I'm going to say no. The Bainini's perspective is, I don't want to, but I will. But they won't say that because that's rude. It's like, I really don't want to, but I will anyway. Give you another example. When it comes to a mitzvah, choose your favorite mitzvah. Actually, maybe choose your not favorite mitzvah, whatever it is. When it comes to any mitzvah of the 613. Good morning, good morning. Good to see you. Welcome. So when it comes to any mitzvah, right, the tzaddik wants to do it and does it. The Rasha doesn't want to do it and doesn't do it. And the Bainini, part of that Bainini doesn't want to do it, but does it anyway. Again, the Bainini is a psychological Rasha and behavioral tzaddik. Does that make sense? Yes? I mean, how often in our lives have we done things that we don't like doing? All the time. All the time. The famous example that I like to give is when it comes to driving, right? We learn the rules of the road. And the rules of the road are when you come to a red light, you got to stop. It doesn't say you have to like stopping. Say you have to want to stop. When you come to a red light, you should be excited about stopping. No, we legislate behavior, not emotions, right? We tell you stop, not want to stop or not want to stop. What if I really want to go somewhere? What if I really want to get to my destination? I'm driving my kids to a Braves game and they're really excited. We're all really excited to get to the game. Why? Because we want to get to the batting practice because the kids want to catch a ball. Yeah, happens every time. Yeah, they want to catch a ball, so we go early, and so we're driving. And then we get to a red light. It would be way more convenient to take the red light. Why? Because we'll get there soon. But the law is the law. And so, although there's a conflict internally, i.e. part of me knows the value of stopping, part of me, I'm just giving an example, not necessarily am I that conflicted when it comes to red light, but conceptually, part of me wants to get there, right? I nonetheless stop without complaining. That is acting like a Bainini. A Bainini means that you're doing the right thing, even though on the inside, you're conflicted. Because each of us lives a dual life. There's the inner life that we live and the outer life that we live. And I'm defining inner and outer as the part of you that only you know about and the part of you that everyone knows about. The part of you that only you knows about is what you're thinking, how you're feeling, your conflicts, your likes, your dislikes, right? All of that stuff is on the inside, only you know about. The stuff on the outside is how you manifest, how you show up in the world, what you say, what you do, how you express yourself. And so what Chassidus teaches us, Kabbalah Chassidus teaches us, is that we have a choice to defy our inner reality, which means either for good or for bad, right? Where we might not want to say the nice thing to someone else. We might not want to help the other person. We can do it anyway. We tell our kids that, right? Your kid has a friend over. Who's had this experience? Your kid has a friend over for a play date. And as it inevitably happens at a certain age, the other kid takes a toy from the shelf of toys. And your kid, because again, it's a certain age, maybe it's not a certain age, I don't know, right? So what happens? So your kid starts crying or fighting, saying, what's the famous refrain that the child will say? That's my toy. And you're the parent, you're thinking, obviously it's your toy, it's your house. Everything in this, all the toys in this house will be your toys. By definition, when you have someone over and they're going to play, right, it means that they're going to use your toys. There's no other way about it. They're not coming with their own toys. It's not a thing. Maybe it's a thing. I don't know. I haven't seen that. Huh? Birthday present. Yeah, but so you tell your child, I know it's your toy, and I know you want to play with it, but share. And in that moment, such an amazing pedagogic moment. It's really setting success for life. What you're telling a child is you're validating the feelings. I know it's your toy. I know you want to play with your toy. 100%. Validate it. However, share it. What you're teaching the child and reinforcing to yourself, if we listen to ourselves, parent, is the following message. You are not a slave to your feelings. Just because you don't want to doesn't mean that you can't. You might not want to, and you still can. You might not want to share, you can still share. You might not want to stop at the red light, you can still stop at the red light. You might not want to smile, you can still smile. You might not want to say the nice thing, you can still do that. You can absolutely still do that. That's a choice. That's a choice that we have between the inside and the outside is where choice comes in. I might feel lousy. I can put on a happy face to someone else. I might not want to do the mitzvah. I can absolutely do it. This is the art of the Beinoni. The art of the Beinoni is how to show up in a healthy, happy, holy way, even when on the inside, I might not feel so cheery, holy, and so beautiful. It's about showing up like a tzaddik, even when I feel like a rush on the inside. Does that make sense? That is a Beinoni. A Tzaddik
is purely righteous.
Tzaddik has no issue. Exactly. Tzaddik has no struggle. The tzaddik has no tension. The Beinoni is living a world of tension. And by the way, the Beinoni could tell themselves, why should I be a hypocrite? If I feel lousy, maybe I should just project that.
Well, what about the tzaddik? He doesn't have any. He has no evil inclination.
The tzaddik, the way we define tzaddik is, and this is the rare individual. If you find someone like this, let me know. A tzaddik is defined as someone who not only does, says whatever the right thing, but who wants to do or say the right thing. In other words,
He also solely think the right thing.
Yes.
It does not have.
Yes. Does not have a Yetzer Hara. Does not have a Yetzer Hara. He was just setting that up the whole time.
Like say maybe like thinking bad and do like thinking good and do bad.
Yeah. So we have, absolutely. We have that. Right. So your question is, could it be the other way, where on the inside you're feeling good and the outside it's coming out bad? I think that's a rarity. And I think that would happen if on the inside there's also negative. I mean, where else would it come from? Whereas when it comes to the positive on the outside, I know I'm being kind of inconsistent and asymmetrical here with the presentation, one way versus the other. But this is the way it's described in Kabbalah, is that where choice comes in. When you want to do the right thing and you do the right thing, that wasn't much of a choice. That's kind of autopilot. It's when you don't want to do the right thing and you do it anyway. And again, like I said before, this is something that we try to instill. And I don't know if we're that mindful about the process, but it's a very healthy thing to instill in children from the get-go, which is not you should enjoy sharing. Maybe you shouldn't enjoy sharing, but share anyway. Because if you're telling them to enjoy it and then do it, you're only setting up a very small percentage of good behavior, only when you feel like doing it. Whereas the real education is when you don't want to do it and you do it anyway. That's where the real magic happens. In Kabbalistic terminology, this is from Zohar, we call this iskafia. Iskafia means, there's no real one word in English that describes it. Iskafia means conquering oneself, or iskafia.
Overcoming oneself.
Overcoming is good. Conquering, not transforming. Transforming would be where you now want to do the right thing. That's self-mastery. But not transformation. Again, transformation will be the tzaddik. Transformation means now on the inside, I'm feeling love and generosity and holy. Superimposing. This is where I feel this, but I'm going to quell it. I'm going to push it down to do the right thing. This is the way Kabbalah understands it. This is the most important spiritual exercise that the average, i.e. 99.9999% of human beings need to do. Most people are not in the category of Russia, evil through and through. It's not. Most people are not a tzaddik, pure through and through. Most people are conflicted inside. Some good desires, some not so good desires, and the struggle is on how it shows up on the outside. And I just want to point out, I know there's some questions, I'll take it in just a second. I think it's important to mention that the Kabbalah says that the main area that we're meant to focus on and to work on is the outside, not the inside. Because the world doesn't really get changed from what's going on the inside. It's about, we live in a world of action. We live in a world of Asiya, right? There's a world of Atzilut, of emanation, Bria, spiritual creation, Yitzira, spiritual formation. We live in the world of Asiya, a world of action. The metric of this world is practical, tangible action or words, right? Speech. It's about something very practical happening or not happening. Somebody feels very generous inside, but never expresses that in the real world, it doesn't create change. Conversely, if someone feels very conflicted on the inside, but does acts of generosity, despite the inner turmoil, inner conflict, that creates tremendous change in the world.
You go through other ways around, and maybe you have to say something bad and you stop yourself from saying.
Sure, absolutely. And that also makes a change, right? If I could have done something negative and I stopped myself from doing something negative, the inaction in this case also creates change, i.e. the change is not putting that negative energy into play. I saw some question before, yeah.
So what about the opposite? What if inside you want to do something good, but the other you some peer pressure or whatever, you don't do it?
Yeah, so I don't know what term we would have for that. That's a psychological tzaddik and a behavioral Russia. That's not a Beinani. That's complicated. Kabbalah doesn't have a term for that, but it could happen. It could happen. Yeah. Listen, if somebody wants to do the right thing and out comes the negative thing, then it's an accident, right? I mean, if you didn't intend to do something negative and something negative just, resulted from that, I think that's out of your control. If peer pressure, but you gave into the peer pressure, I don't know. Then we have to have a conversation. Then we have to have a more deep dive. Then we need to put the person on the couch and say, 1 second. There's peer pressure, right? However, what's why cede to that peer pressure? Why give in? If there's not something inside, then maybe, I don't know. It's a good question, but okay. I don't know. I hear you. I don't know. But I would say this, most people are not perfectly pure or when I say pure, perfectly righteous or evil on the inside. Most people are a little conflicted, a little good, a little not good. That's how I started today's conversation with, when we think of celebrities, right? That has to be celebrities. Think of ourselves. We have good inside. We also have not so good inside. We have desires, drives, inclinations that are positive, healthy, holy, and ones that are the opposite. The question really is, the way Kabbalah frames the question, it's not how you feel inside. It's what are you going to do about it on the outside? It's the latter. However, and we're going to break this down further as we go through this text. However, one thing to bear in mind is that although the struggle happens naturally and organically on the inside, it's not like one magically overcomes the other. And then, because that would take away our role in it. Like, let them duke it out and I'm not held responsible because whatever God put inside me, they're going to fight it out. And whatever emerges, but I have nothing to do with this. what emerges is always going to be the subject of a choice, whether it's action or inaction, to allow one or the other to come out. In other words, when it comes into our outer world, I'm referring to the inner world and outer world. Inner world is how we feel inside. Outer world is what we do and say, etc. So when it comes into the outer world, that's always the subject of a choice, or at least it should be the subject of choice. So we are held. It's not about responsibility. It's not the focus of today's point, but that's where we come in to govern that.
But doesn't all sin come from making that bad choice?
Yes. Or allow.
Then you repent.
Yeah, I would say it's not just making the bad choice, it's allowing that bad choice
Because at that
desire
point, it's already
to manifest.
sometimes
Correct.
You've internalized this bad. I call it
Yes.
Hierarchy of values.
Yeah.
I just had a question.
Cheryl is writing here something interesting. It seems that Freud's id, superego, and ego paralleled the middling. Interesting. I don't know enough about Freud's different layers, but that's an interesting comment. Thank you for writing that. I will say that Freud discovered the id, but he didn't discover the yid. Oh, Adam, hey. Yes. And that's again how I started today's conversation. Can we aspire to be a tzaddik? That's really, if I were to rephrase the question I asked all the way at the beginning of today's conversation, what are the limits of personal change? I.e., should we aspire just to be in control of what we're doing, we're saying, or should we also aspire to be in control of our heart on the inside? And is that even possible?
Become a pure tzaddik is
To
probably.
become a tzaddik,
Probably not a reasonable.
right? So Adam's saying, let's go for it. Sam is saying, probably not. And this is a good debate, right? This is a good debate. It's a good
You
conversation,
go for it, but the odds of achieving it are.
right?
So go for something you can control.
Right. Or maybe we should go for it and then we fall somewhere close. That would be the question. I'm not weighing in on it. I'm just saying these are two perspectives and both are discussed in Kabbalah, because this is exactly the energy of the conversation. On one hand, we would say, why even bother in the inside? Don't worry about the inside. You have this voice that you didn't put inside yourself. We didn't make ourselves, right? So you have this voice inside that's always throwing at you these negative, oh, do this, don't do that, whatever, but the negative stuff. So all our job is to be the gatekeeper, is to keep the bad stuff inside and allow the good stuff out. That's one perspective. Another perspective would be to go work on the inside. Yeah. Well, that's debatable. In other words, one could say that the value is increased when the inside is in a state of the opposite of good. In other words, when a person doesn't want to give tzedakah and they give it anyway, that might be a greater mitzvah than the person that wants to give tzedakah and gives.
It can be dynamic. It's not like, it's not necessarily.
I'm not saying anything definitive. This is all the opening. So we're just laying out the pieces. But my point simply is that there are multiple ways of looking at it. One could say it's more virtuous when you want to do the right thing and do it. One might say it's more virtuous when you don't want to do the right thing and you do a skafia, which means you break yourself and you do the right thing anyway. One might say that has more value. There's two different ways of looking at it.
So we don't do the right thing all the time. So that's not, there's all kind of levels of Balaam because there's Rabbi and then there's people who are barely, staying in a jail. So,
Right.
I don't know, I know you can say that there's good and bad in our gut, we have like, our soul is speaking, or we could say it's our heart. But to me, I think most Balaam know the right thing to do. And we have the thought, but then our feeling is different. We feel like we want to do the entire thing, but we know we should be discouraged. So
Right, which is kind of why I said before heart and mind. Why the heart is euphemistic. It's not always bad, but it's more of the passionate, which can get us in trouble sometimes.
But I'm thinking that we know the right thing to do.
Correct, right. So in other words,
So most of those.
yeah, most of us, right. So, except for the Russia. The Russia would be pure inside out, not good.
Therefore, the Russians are rare. And
Right. The Russia is the
even
extreme.
more rare.
Exactly. The tzaddik is extreme and rare, and the Rush is extreme and rare. Here's the big idea. The big idea is that I agree with you. In other words, that we do have this sense of right and wrong inside. We also have this passionate desires inside that pull us in a different direction. I want to frame it this way. Remember the biblical story of Rivka? So she marries Yitzchak, Isaac. She marries him, and she's not getting pregnant. And they daven, they pray, and then she gets pregnant. And her pregnancy is tremendously difficult. So she goes to a prophet, the oracle. We say oracle? No, doesn't sound Jewish, but it's kind of what it was, right? This oracle prophet, seer, guru, hot dog purchaser, kidding, right? This spiritual individual, huh? Right, exactly. And she goes to this individual and she says, this pregnancy is difficult, and I wanted to get pregnant, but not like this. And so this person, this spiritual prophet, says to her one thing: Mazel tov, you're pregnant with twins. And they're struggling. When this one rises, the other one will fall. When the other one rises, this one will fall. And okay, she accepts the news, and that's it. And there's no mention of the struggle anymore. And the commentators asked the following question: if the pregnancy was difficult because of the two different dynamics, not just twins, but two different personalities inside, so then how did knowing about it, how did that help? Understand my question? Did I ask that coherently? I don't know if I did. In other words, the fact that she now knows that there are twins that are struggling, how does that make the struggle easier? And I guess the answer is the question. Knowing what's going on makes it easier. Not knowing makes it more complicated. And let me just bring this all the way down very practically. Kabbalah teaches us that we all are pregnant with twins. Mazel. This is very progressive. We're all pregnant with twins, which means that we have these dueling natures inside. We have the Yaakov, we have the Esau, we have the Jacob, we have the Esau. We all have these two dynamics inside. You see, the real psychological torment would happen if we were just one persona that was this way and that way. That would be crazy. That would be very frustrating. But since we're two personas, it all makes sense. 1 hour of the day, we feel holy and connected. We feel generous and loving. And the next hour of the day, we feel very selfish. We feel very selfish and ego-driven. And a person might say, I don't understand. I felt so holy, and now I feel so unholy. What's going on? What's wrong with me? And Kabbalah says, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have twins. Mazel tov. Rivka was tormented. Why, when I walk by a yeshiva, does it feel like there's some excitement inside? And why, when I walk by a house of idolatry, does it feel like there's some inner excitement? What kind of child is this who both wants to go to yeshiva, to go to shul, and to serve idols? What kind of meshuggah child is this? What am I carrying? And the answer is twins. You have two different personas inside. Every one of us has two personas inside. One way of thinking about this is, okay, raise your hand if you have a PC. The computer is a PC. Okay, raise your hand if you have a Mac and PC. Okay, you have some Mac and some PC. Anyone run Linux? Well, that's very brave. No, okay. I'm proud that I even know the word. Papyrus. I don't even know what that is. Oh, but like writing. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm like, what operating system is that? You got me. That's hilarious. So one second. So the way computers work is that there are, what's that? Oh, no worries. Oh, nice. Well, even the birds want to listen. Oh, really? Hey, you never know. So listen, there is a, so when it comes to computers, you have hardware and software. Right? The hardware is, I don't know, the hardware. The computer, the screen, the chips, the software is what's running on the hardware. So for example, if you have a Mac, you can run something called Parallels, I think, that can run both Mac and Windows. Is this correct?
I know you, I don't know.
Can we run both Mac and Windows OS? Parallels. Okay. The point is like this. You have one screen with dueling softwares inside. And the talk about a hard drive being fragmented. Remember defragging? Maybe defrag lately? I don't know. I haven't done that in a while. Here's the point. If we were just one and we were pulled in two different directions, that would be cause for concern. How could one be pulled in two different directions? How could the same person want two different things? It's meshuggah. It's crazy. The answer is it's not the same person. Okay, it is, but it's not the same. It's coming from two different places inside. You have a godly soul and you have an animal soul. You have a good inclination. You have an evil inclination. There are dueling voices inside, and each one has what it wants to do. It has a whole suite of activities and projects and ideas that it wants to pursue. The godly soul, the higher self, has its idea of what it wants to do, and the animal soul, the lower self, has its notion of what it wants to do. And we are the arbiter. We are arbitrator, whatever. We're the one that decides who passes out into the open. Which self presents itself and steps forward in this moment. It's not even today. It's not a day-by-day decision. It's a moment-by-moment decision. Every moment, I have two voices inside, whether I'm aware of it or not. And the simple question is, which voice will I express in this moment? Whether it's through my words, my actions, or even my conscious thoughts. Because all of this stuff is happening on a subconscious level. This battle is happening, this struggle is happening on a subconscious level. And on a conscious level is where we make the choice. What am I going to choose to think about in this moment? What am I going to choose to say? What am I going to choose to do? That's where I come in. And that's where free choice comes in. Most people are not a tzaddik. A tzaddik doesn't have free choice. A tzaddik just wants to do the right thing and does the right thing. Easy peasy. A rasha, for the negative, wants to do bad and does bad. It's the Beinoni where the magic happens. When I say magic, what I mean is the Beinoni is where it's the Beinoni persona where the action is full throttle. The Beinoni is conflicted. The Beinoni is pregnant with twins. There's a Yaakov and an Esav inside each and every one of us, assuming that we're not either extreme of Russia or Tzaddik, right? We are the Beinoni, and inside of us, we have these dueling personalities. And the simple question is, which voice are we going to project and express in this moment? Dr. Maxey.
So my question is, instead of spending a lot of energy resisting my inner Asaph, should I just spend all my energy feeding my inner Yaakov? And that is spending it in doing the mitzvot, doing Torah study, davening as a way of overcoming the Yetzer Hara.
Excellent question. King David writes in Psalms, Sur Meira va'aseh tov. He says, steer away from negativity and do good. And the order that he puts it in sounds like the first step is quell the negative voice and then give rise or give a platform for the positive voice. But Kabbalah says oftentimes it's better to do the other way around, like what you're suggesting. Focus on the positive. By the way, this is very much a modern Chabad, I want to say modern. The Rebbe is our generation message. The Rebbe was always promoting light. He says, if it's dark in the room, don't take a baseball bat and try to beat the darkness away. Just turn on the light. right? You want to destroy the darkness? You're not going to get anywhere. Destroying darkness? Just light the light.
Darkness is simply the absence. What?
Exactly. When you take darkness so seriously, then now you're gonna lose anyway. So just to focus on the positive. So to your point, should our focus be on pushing down, on sublimating the negative voice or giving rise to the positive? I would say start with the positive. The negative will come naturally. It's funny. I was learning a discourse from the author of the first Kabbalah Rabbi yesterday on the Parsha, yesterday's Torah portion, and he says the same thing. He first presents the model where you start with negating the negative and then advancing the positive. And he says, actually, it might be more effective to go the other way around. First, advance the positive, and automatically the negative will be pushed to the side. But just to kind of summarize this and put this in a nice tight package to get ready for next week's next step. So the big idea that I wanted to present today, and hopefully came out, is, as the Talmud says, there are three types of people. There's the tzaddik, there's the rasha, those are the extremes, and there's a beinoni. And Rabbi says, you want to know who a beinoni is? Kagain anna beinoni. Like us, like I'm a beinoni. And Abaya, his student, his nephew, said, you kidding me? If you're a beinoni, then who are we? The way we now understand it is as follows. Rabbi obviously did everything right and didn't stop studying Torah. But Rabbi testified about himself, I am not always feeling perfect on the inside. Does that make sense? Behaviorally, absolutely a tzaddik. By any objective observer, by the measure of any objective observer, a Rabbi, tzaddik. Perfect behavior, saying the right thing, doing the right thing, complete tzaddik. Studying Torah all day, whatever it is, tzaddik. But he said about himself, I'm a beinoni. A beinoni, and the big idea today is, a beinoni is not someone who does 50% good things and 50% bad things. So they're in the middle like that. A beinoni is somebody who's doing the right thing. The reason why he or she is called a beinoni, i.e. in the middle, is because although on a behavioral level, they are like a tzaddik, on a psychological or internal or subconscious level, they're on the level of a rasha. These are the three personas. And I would say all of us, just I'm assuming, again, if I'm incorrect, if you're a tzaddik, then first of all, you wouldn't tell me anyway. So that's perfect. Right? Right. He wouldn't say that about himself. Right. Absolutely. Oh, he just reversed reverse psychology, dude. Unbelievable. Only a tzaddik would try to throw you off the trail by saying he's a tzaddik. Anyway, back to the point. So since we are all in the level of beinoni, or aspiring to be beinoni, which means that despite how we feel, we're doing the right thing. Because of this, it's so important to understand, what is it that we can change? Yes, we can modify our behavior, but can we work on the inside? This was the discussion we were having before, right? Can we work on the inside? Can we become more tzaddik-like in certain areas? And how do we navigate, as we discussed toward the end of today's session, how do we navigate this complicated pregnancy, as it were, or these complicated dueling forces on the inside? How do we navigate these two realities? So in our next session, we are going to get into a tale of two spies. Espionage, biblical espionage. Two stories of biblical spying, one that ended in disaster and the other that ended in success. In fact, it was on the handout that you have, Spies Part 1, Spies Part 2. But we ran out of time. So there's Spy versus Spy. Or when I was a kid, there was a Jewish publication that had, the main character was the spy. And the spy was fighting against the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. But that's not what this is. So this is a case of two spies, a tale of two spies. And we're gonna kind of, yeah, well, almost. That's coming up next week. same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed it. What a crowd. Unbelievable. We'll take over. It's a good issue. We'll expand the tables, but it will be awkward if we expanded the tables and then we had a small crowd. So make sure you're here next week. And if you're visiting, visit again. I don't know if you're still here next week. Join us next week. And by the way, if you enjoyed today, invite someone else to join. There should be no cap on this. We have plenty of food. It's okay. We'll make it work. Exactly. What could go wrong? All right. Pleasure. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What I'm gonna do is, hold on, before you guys go, I'm gonna add you to the email list now. So that way you'll get the Zoom link. Correct. Right, because we have the Zoom option. So we'll get you guys on the Zoom. All right. Hey guys. Hey, Dr. Maxey. Hey, Matt. How's Kansas? Matt, how's life in Kansas?
Oh, it is terrific. I just walked through Mount Mitchell Prairie yesterday. It is a expansive tall grass prairie that's been protected from
Nice.
different encroaching stuff. It's such a beautiful place to be.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, I also found out there is a local bakery that makes challah on
Oh,
Friday morning.
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, hold on. Before we continue, hold on. Is anybody not on this list that wants to be on this list for this class? Okay, let me add you to the list. Is anybody not getting the email for this class? Okay, tell me your name. Hold on. AURO. Oh, Aurora. Okay. Martinez. Tell me your email.
Is
Does that look right? Aurora Martinez 390 at Gmail.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, great. Awesome. Yes, it's a small book. I figure we'll go through. We'll do a little bit quicker. Yeah, I mean, if we keep on doing, we'll get you on the list. If we keep on doing sessions without touching the inside, it'll still take a minute. Oh, you got the book. Oh, good. Good. Perfect. You could take it in the meantime. It's no, because there's an appendix. There's like another text also with it. No, it's not so small. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Let's get you guys in.
Yes, I'll put my email.
Larry, who are we sending this to?
Larry Elaine, or I'll just give you my email address.
Yeah, spell it.
PENUCK.
Okay.
ESB205@gmail.
Wait, but she put you also, right?
Okay, but
Okay, there we go. That way we'll send it with one email. You guys will have it. Amazing.
Tuesday night.
great.
Yes,
Where is it?
it's gonna be in, good question.
Where's what?
Where is Tuesday night gonna be? Because we have a Tuesday night class in the Daily Show. We may do a second one there, or we may do it here. We may do it here.
That's about.
It's about the source of the Talmud. I should have mentioned it.
Yeah, I know.
Folks, thank you for reminding me. Quick announcement. Tuesday night, we're launching a new 3-part series, Legends of the Talmud. We've never done this course before. We've done other courses on stories of the Talmud. This is a brand new one. Legends of the Talmud, starting 8 p.m. Tuesday night for 3 weeks. I'm not teaching it, taught by Naftali Zakon, and I think it's going to be here. I think we'll do it here. All right. Sure. Yeah. Recordings, and I can send you the link to that. Can you send me an email and then I'll send it to you and you forward it? Is that okay? Or you can give me, sure. Or we don't have to go in direct. Absolutely. Even better. Even better. All right. So let me add you in.
My name?
Yeah. First name.
It's EA Silisa.
Okay. Last name?
GOLOWAT JUK.
Got it. And email.
So my first name
Okay.
is
VASI.
LI,
Wait, Vasilisa, right?
yes,
Okay.
at GMX
GMX
X dot CH.
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 Does that look right?
Vasilisa
Vasilisa at GMX.
Yes,
I got that right?
yes, that's right.
Great. Okay.
Perfect. Thank
Great.
you very much.
Great to meet you.
Absolutely.
And whenever you're in town, stop by.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It was very, very interesting. I enjoyed it very much.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Good to have you here. Oh, for sure. With pleasure. Thank you.
If I send you.
Yeah, absolutely. We send we send the Zoom link for sure. Yeah, let's do that now. That way we don't have to, oh, cute. You know what happened?
I had extras.
You know what happened?
What?
So, because I'm like, what do they call it? The first lady, the first man. I'm the first man of the principal. Make sense?
Yeah, the first name.
So I'm like helping or whatever. I'm like, just doing my thing. And then by the time I got to the cookies, they were gone. We got one cookie. I'm like, who's eating Sham's cookies? Who would do that?
They wrote it.
But anyway, they were fun. Thank you. This is so cute.
I didn't, you know what I had to
This
do?
is so cute.
13
You did this?
Yeah, 13 graduates. So one setup was 12. And then I had to have an extra page. So those pages I printed 16 of.
Got it.
And this one I had to print 2 of and
That's
had
cute.
extra.
He makes a good sticker.
Makes it nice, boy.
Makes a
Look at
cute
that.
sticker.
Why should I throw that out?
Thank you. Norm, tell me your wife's info.
Try and share the contact with you, so to make it a little bit easier, so you don't have to write everything. So I just gotta get back to Rabbi Sollish.
Oh, you want to send me the contact? Sure.
I had you right here. See, this is, I think
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
it fell out last night.
Oh.
I'm gonna go and get that put in right now, because I don't even know what I'm seeing. I
Right.
know you're a rabbi. I think I know you. But I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so glad grades.
You know the story, you know the joke about the pirate?
I ought to cover it with black, so the people leaving. the-
No, I have a good joke about a pirate, which
Alright.
I'll share soon.
Oh, yeah? I'm trying to see where it says share content. Okay,
Sure, yeah, there it is.
okay, so that's glad grades. Oh, but I want to share it with you. And that's this. It's remarkable when Hashem decides to make you deafblind. I'm hearing, but I don't hear well.
Right.
I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
Like, it-
Here, let's see. Can I type in here? Maybe I'll come up under Sollish.
There, so direct line. And then on the way back, we don't.
Okay, so now I should share. I had glad.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll go back and do.
Well, you know what? If you could pull her up and I can type it in. I could just type in her
You
email.
wanna be glad?
Yeah.
I'm trying to save you. You do all of this work all day long.
Nah, an email is the least of the work.
All right, well, you're very kind and patient and
Yeah, I started reading Rabbi 8. Are you ready?
Yeah, no,
it's really.
I have not read it.
But it's interesting. because
Toba, great to see you. How long are you with that? Okay. Okay, well, hopefully
I just can't justify.
on this, really? That's weird. Okay, I'm gonna look at that. Do you have a different email address or the same?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I got you.
week, Norm.
You do the same, Toby. You gonna be here next week?
Yes,
Oh, is that healing?
I hope it is. It's not as painful, so I'm assuming it's healing.
Good.
Take a bit of substance.
So
Thank you.
it's.
I'll call you Monday.
And then I realized that all Hasidic classes tie into one another. It all comes back.
It's a labyrinth.
Makes Hasidic not palatable.
That's right.
It all ties together.
It all
That's
comes
a
together.
contradiction.
Right.
I don't know if I could say that about the other side of town.
True, also.
Norm, behave yourself.
I'm trying my best.